Hi, my name is Althea Lawton Thompson. I first came in contact with yoga when I was about 26 or 27 years old. I was living in Baltimore, Maryland. It was 1996 or 97, and at the time, I was a personal trainer. I had many clients, and all of my focus was on strength training, cardiovascular, weight loss, and yoga at the time for me was just something to add on for a client to kind of differentiate me from some of the other personal trainers of the day. And I remember when I first decided to get certified, I went from Baltimore to New York and took a week-long training. And I remember after the first 2 days of that certification training, I was taking the subway from Manhattan to Queens, where I was staying with a relative, and I could barely sit down or stand up. I couldn't really reach out to hold the pole. Every muscle in my body was sore and in pain. I remember by the end of the week having a brand new appreciation for asana, for yoga on the mat. When I was pregnant with my first son, I was 27, turning 28, when I decided to change my focus from asana practice in an Ashtanga way to more breath work. I really started to focus on breath work and pratyahara and trying to remove the senses from what was going on because I really wanted to prepare myself to have a natural childbirth. And long before that, I was doing water aerobics and trying to incorporate yoga breathing into my water aerobics. So now it had really transcended from me using yoga with clients to be something to challenge them and differentiate myself as a personal trainer to truly becoming a part of my life. And I remember being so calm and peaceful when I first started the labor with my first son. The hospital sent me home. They said there's no way she should be this calm. This baby is huge. She's not laboring hard enough. And they made me go home. My husband was so upset with me that day. And we waited until I felt like the baby was really coming, and we went back. And still, it was just a calm, beautiful birth. And that baby was almost 10 pounds. So it wasn't an easy birth. It was 24 hours of labor. But I just remember how wonderful yoga was in terms of keeping me limber, in tune with my body, strong, and how powerful that breath work was. That's something, it was game changing for that childbirth. Yoga continued to play a part in my life as my children grew older. When we decided to relocate our family from Maryland down to Atlanta, Georgia, my boys at that time were 7 and 3 years old. And I had made the decision to be a stay-at-home mom, which was not an easy decision. I had been traveling on the fitness circuit as a fitness presenter. I was a news reporter, the fitness reporter on the news on Saturday. I was appearing in commercials, and I had a daily TV show. And, I really was living the life of a fitness professional. But when my boys became older, I realized I really wanted to be an integral part of their upbringing. And the two worlds just weren't coming together for me. So when we relocated to Atlanta, it was a huge shift for me to go from always being on and active to being in a very suburban community. And it just was too much of an adjustment for me to make right away. So I remember looking in the local catalog for a class I could take, a yoga class. I wanted a yoga class. I didn't want to jump up and down. I didn't want to do any personal training or boot camp. This was well before CrossFit was something popular. I just wanted something to bring me back to balance in this new place with this new life I'd chosen. And yoga was it. I signed up for the class. It was actually at the high school behind our neighborhood. And I remember getting a phone call 1 week before that class was due to start. and the coordinator saying, our teacher had to cancel. We don't have a teacher for the class. And I remember thinking, is this a coincidence? Is this a joke or what? And I had the phone to my ear and I said, well, I know this might sound crazy, but I'm actually a certified yoga instructor. Would you like me to teach the class? And the lady was like, would you? For real, are you? Can you show me your credentials? And the next thing you know, I'm teaching this class that's just growing and growing. And that's how yoga became my new niche. It was no longer the dance aerobics. It wasn't the personal training. It wasn't the aquatics. It became yoga and meditation. And it was amazing to see how that happened. So I felt it would be cool to open a yoga studio, and that's exactly what I did in 2008. It was phenomenal. It had bamboo floors and low voltage lighting, and the walls were the colors of the sunset. And that place was just like a home away from home for me. And that's when I really started diving into teaching workshops that were beyond asana on the mat, beyond breath work, and even beyond meditation. I began doing workshops on the 8 limbs and going deeper into what is your purpose in life? How do you listen to your spiritual gifts? How are you connecting to the universal oneness? And a yoga class became so much more than yoga clothing or a yoga mat. Our classes really expanded with that studio. My sister was helping me run the studio. She had moved from Maryland here to Atlanta and bought a house about 5 minutes from us, and she was the general manager of the studio. And in 2010, she was diagnosed with leukemia. And she did pass away in March of 2012. So in December of 2012, I made the decision to close our studio because it was something I had really shared with her. But as we were making preparations for her transition, I remember our discussions around the things that we had done together that we enjoyed, but her also being sad about what she had not done. And at that time, I made the decision to start living my life a little bit differently. And I trademarked a term called living life limitlessly. And I started leading group retreats. At first, the retreats started out being healing retreats here in Georgia, in Atlanta, because I needed to heal. I needed to heal the pain of helping my sister through her cancer treatments. But then I also needed to heal from her loss and the closing of my studio. So what started out as a healing for me ended up being a healing for others. And a big, big component of our healing retreats was yoga. And it was a combination of yoga on the mat and yoga and union of spirit, union of mind, breath work, physical activity. And now it's 17 retreats later, 7 countries later, more than 100 people later, and yoga is still such a huge part of my life, of my journey, and how I touch others. People ask me if I learned to be so calm in chaotic situations because of yoga. And at one point, I thought it was yoga. And then I realized it was actually parenting my 2 sons. But when I think about it now, that my sons are older, they're grown men now, I see that it was yoga preceding the birth of my children, and then the 2 of them together. Yoga has always been a part of the way I've parented. And it's become a part of their lives as well. They're both athletes. And yoga became a part of not only our household life, but I ended up doing yoga for both of their teams. So it's amazing to see how yoga transcended a studio. It transcended something that I was doing for women and mature people. and became a very integral part of young people's lives, and young men in particular, because I'm the mother of sons. A really beautiful journey. It's been a blessing to be able to teach yoga now in a corporate atmosphere. I'm the owner of Aerobics Yoga and More Corporate Wellness, and we provide classes, mind-body classes, for major corporations, medical facilities, and educational institutions. So it's been a wonderful transition to now take yoga from my personal journey to incorporating it with my family, moving it through the gym and a yoga studio, and now taking it into the real world of where people work, where they are being treated for medical conditions, and where they learn. And it really is an adjustment. I've had to start training programs for yoga teachers to teach in those settings because they literally are night and day from a yoga studio or from the gym. The terminology is different, the way we teach is different, the intention is completely different, the audience is different. So it's been really nice to approach yoga in this way, in more of a corporate general practitioner, something for everyone, from that perspective. And I really enjoyed that. It's always interesting to have the conversation with someone about yoga for the first time. As soon as you mention that you teach yoga or you invite someone to their first yoga class, almost immediately for me, the first response that I receive is, I'm not flexible enough. I have no flexibility. And I guess when I think about what it is I would like people to know more about yoga is that you don't come to the concept of yoga thinking about the limitations in your flexibility. The whole point of the physical part, the asana part, is to find out about your body, to listen to it, to recognize it, to hear it, and then slowly begin to work through things that you want to improve on. It's not necessarily flexibility in muscles and joints, it's flexibility in your mind. It's flexibility in your spirit. It's flexibility in your expectations for yourself. I wish more people knew that it was not about physical flexibility and that that's the starting point. The other thing that's been really interesting is teaching people about the aspects of yoga that are not physically on the mat. Teaching breath work has been amazing. And I like to do that through guided meditation as well as through yoga. So I believe if more people knew how many benefits there were to how you mentally handle life, how you mentally handle stress, how you handle loss, financial, emotional, job, family. Yoga has been a support for me through some of the most traumatic losses there are. I just wish that more people knew that yoga could be a tool for that. Yoga for me is the literal term of union. It has completely come off the mat for me personally. My mornings start with silence, and that directly came from yoga back in 1997. So it's neat to see how it's been a part of my life for more than 20 years. Thank you for allowing me to share my yoga journey and my story with you. Peace and light.